story follows state, state follows story, and that always comes up in these cohorts at some point. And the way I look at it is it's both. And when you hear other polyvagal informed teachers or coaches talk about story following state, what we're really trying to express there is that often we make up a narrative to make sense of a physiological shift that has occurred, right? And that physiological shift can occur for reasons that we have no idea why. We can't tap into all of the features that our nervous system, our body is reading, internally, externally, and relationally. We just simply can't. So what will happen is then at the level of the brainstem, we are neurocepting from top down and from sensory information, and then we have these reflexive shifts that occur at the level of the brainstem, which then change the vagal regulation of our physiology, which then we might interocept these shifts, these changes in our body. We might notice a sensation, we might notice a feeling, we might notice a thought. So that's where we're getting at the story follows state. But initially, the state is what has shifted, and now we have a story to make sense of the state. However, it is in my own experience, and I think very much in alignment with polyvagal theory, that story can also impact state. That it's an interconnected back and forth neural highway. That the brain is getting information from the body, and the body is getting information from the brain. And certainly we can use top-down strategies to shift our physiology with intention, right, with skill, through imagery, through visualizations, through even helping just change our story. Or in my own practice, the way I really sort of use the story initially is when I notice a shift into any type of defensive threat physiology, whether it's mobilizing or even shutting down, I'll simply notice the belief or the story that arises, and I don't believe it. I just notice it, and I'm go, oh, that's an interesting story. That just simply is information that I am moving into some threat response. That's all. So that gives me the capacity to sort of interrupt the story now helping to feed the state, and maybe have a moment where maybe I can now come into the other strategies, the other bottom-up strategies to help realign my physiology to support how I really want to think and act and behave and respond. So, but it definitely is going in both ways. And it can get very tricky. And it doesn't even, from my perspective, from the way I view it, it doesn't matter where it starts. Right? It doesn't matter. Regardless, it gets going in a loop, and however we can interrupt that loop when it's going down in a defensive or threat loop, however we can best interrupt that loop is where I'm going to go. And often when the loop gets really, really going, it can be more impactful to go into the body, go into the bottom-up stuff sometimes, but not always. Right? So that's how I look at it.